Hello, welcome to the Bible Takeaway, where you can expect to snack on the who, what and when of a particular Bible filling. For dessert, you have an option of a few quiz questions to help your digestion of the content. This is a Bible summary of 1 Samuel. In terms of timeline, 1 Samuel is the first book that sees a king in charge of Israel. Therefore, this book sits in the timeline concerning the United Kingdom. What to expect in 1 Samuel? After the birth of the judges, the Israelites demand a king. The people crown Saul, but God tells Samuel to anoint David to replace him. The key people in 1 Samuel are Hannah, Samuel, Eli, Saul, David, and Jonathan. For a key passage, try 1 Samuel 8, verses 6 to 9. But when they said, "Give us a king to lead us," this displeased Samuel. So he prayed to the Lord, and the Lord told him, "Listen to all that the people are saying to you. It is not you they have rejected, but they have rejected me as their king. As they have done from the day I brought them up out of Egypt until this day, forsaking me and serving other gods, so they are doing to you. Now listen to them, but warn them solemnly, and let them know what the king who will reign over them will claim as his rights." In summary, in chapter 3, the Lord calls Samuel. Eli tells Samuel to answer, "Speak, Lord." The Lord tells Samuel that he's about to judge the house of Eli. Chapter 4. The Philistines crush the Israelites, and Eli's sons are killed. When Eli hears that the Ark of the Covenant has been captured, he dies. Chapter 8. The elders of Israel ask Samuel to appoint a king. Samuel warns them what it would mean. The Lord tells Samuel to give them a king. In chapter 11, the Ammonites attack Jabesh Gilead. Saul gathers the Israelites and defeats the Ammonites. The people make Saul king at Gilgal. In chapter 16, the Lord sends Samuel to anoint Jesse's son David as king. The Spirit comes upon David. Saul sends for David to play the harp for him. In chapter 17, a Philistine champion named Goliath challenges the Israelites. David kills Goliath with a sling and a stone. The Philistines flee. In chapter 18, Jonathan loves David. Saul sets David over the army, but becomes jealous and tries to kill him. David marries Saul's daughter, Michal. In chapter 22, about 400 men join David. Saul orders that all the priests be killed because they help David. Only Abiathar escapes. 24. Saul goes after David. David cuts off a piece of Saul's robe, but spares his life. Saul weeps and says, "You shall surely be king." In chapter 27, David lives among the Philistines to escape Saul. King Achish gives him Ziklag. David secretly raids the land while he lives there. In chapter 31, the Philistines fight Israel. Saul's sons are killed. Saul is badly wounded, so he falls on his sword. The Israelites flee. So what's the takeaway from 1 Samuel? Well, other people may be impressed by our appearance, successes and qualifications, or not, but God looks at our hearts. And now, a quick quiz. Question 1. Eli fell off his chair and broke his neck after hearing what news? Question 2. The Israelites appoint Saul as king after he defeats which tribe? Question 3. Who is David's father? Question 4. What instrument does David play well? Question 5. What event causes the Philistines to flee? Question 6. Who does David marry in 1 Samuel? Question 7. Abiathar is the only survivor of which group? And question 8. David manages to escape Saul by living with which group? And now the answers. Eli dies after hearing that the Ark of the Covenant is captured. And Saul became king after defeating the Ammonites. It was Jesse that was David's father. And David played the harp. Answer 5. The Philistines flee after David kills Goliath. And it was Michal that David married. Abiathar is the only surviving priest after Saul's massacre. And question 8. David lived with the enemy Philistines. And there you go. If you have a different takeaway or a personal favourite key passage, please feel free to leave a comment below. Until next time, goodbye and God bless.